Hi, I'm making this video to share the second egregious ruling by the hearing officer, Angela Gupta, who presided over our due process hearing. So this time, she prevented us from obtaining the raw data that underlay our children's private psychoeducation evaluations by quashing our subpoena on the psychotherapist Tish Taylor, who did the evaluations and who had the raw data. So raw data serves as the foundation for generating evaluation results. So evaluation results represent the processed and interpreted form of raw data. As a general principle, a researcher or analyst or a psychotherapist is supposed to disclose the raw data that he or she derives his conclusions from to ensure the transparency and integrity of his or her research or analysis. So, ideally, other researchers or analysts should be able to access your raw data and try to replicate your results and see whether they can reach the same conclusions by using the same data. So, I'm in academia myself, and there's a saying if you torture the data, it will confess. So that's why we were told a long time ago to reduce egg consumption if we want to keep our blood cholesterol low, because eggs are high in cholesterol, and that's what the research told us at that time. Uh, but then later we were told to reduce saturated fat intake, not cholesterol intake, because later research said it's not the cholesterol in food, but the saturated fat in food that increase blood cholesterol. That's why we started to drink this, 1% fat milk, non-fat yogurt, all to reduce our saturated fat intake because that's what the research said. Eggs, on the other hand, weren't bad anymore because even though they were high in cholesterol, they were low in saturated fat. And now the research is saying it's not the cholesterol in food, but it's the saturated fat in food that elevates the blood cholesterol. So now, these days, the research says it's all about the glycemic index and the blood sugar spikes and blood sugar crashes. So that's what we are obsessed with now: blood sugar spikes and crashes and carbs. Uh, so it was first the cholesterol in food, then it became the saturated fat in food. Now it became the glycemic index of food. Uh, so before the research said we shouldn't skip meals, for example. Remember that time? They said we should eat frequently in small amounts. We should snack all the time, all day, just snacking. Actually, don't even eat a meal, just snack all day. Now the research tells us to fast and just eat one meal a day. So that's what the research is like. They had to come up with new things all the time. Uh, so that's why we have these new research, new results, new insights, and new fads. See Harvard, how the data manipulation claims are tearing Harvard into pieces now. Actually, for 1 year, in the last 1 year, 10 years were revoked and lawsuits were filed. Uh, and I think an era is ending in that regard. The same goes for psychoeducation evaluations. So not just academic research, scientific research, but psychoeducation evaluations also involve data analysis and generation of results based on data and the analysis of this data. So in a lawsuit, for example, in Kansas, the Beers family sued Shawnee Mission school district And in the lawsuit, the parents obtained the raw data that underlay the school's evaluation results of their child. And they found out that the school district actually had manipulated data to downplay their child's deficiencies. So why would they do that? Why would the school do that? Manipulate data? Because they were trying to cut corners on the services they had to provide to the students. So they play the students' deficiencies. So they have to provide fewer services to the student. But without the raw data, without that lawsuit, the parents would have never known that their child's evaluation reports were fudged. So that's why also the law says at any reasonable time prior to the hearing, that's due process hearing, the parent and the counsel or advisor of the involved child shall be given access to all records, tests, reports, or clinical evaluations. Uh, so there's nothing wrong with us asking the hearing officer to issue a subpoena for the production of raw data that underlay the private evaluations of our children. So in our case, these private evaluations were conducted by the psychotherapist Tish Taylor, and we were trying to obtain the raw data that underlay her evaluations of our children. So we brought up our intention to serve as subpoena on Tish Taylor during a conference in our first due process hearing, and and we faced no opposition basically. So Blue Valley didn't object. The hearing officer didn't object. Quite the opposite. Actually, Blue Valley's trial lawyer. There were two of them, Stephanie Bowman and Madison Perry. We were dealing with the two at the time. So Stephanie Bowman, they were both present in the conference, and Stephanie Bowman said, "Why don't you just informally request Tish Taylor to produce the raw data? Why do you need a subpoena? Why do you need to issue a service subpoena on her?" And we said we already reached out to her, Tish Taylor, but she stonewalled disclosing the raw data. So that's why we had to subpoena. So we faced no objection, and the hearing officer herself, Angela Gupta herself, signed the subpoena. So a subpoena was served on Tish Taylor on August 1st. So she was commanded to produce the raw data that she used in our in her evaluations of our children. And but later, Tish Taylor's lawyer and Kindling filed a motion with the hearing officer to quash the subpoena on August 30, 2024. What does quashing the subpoena mean? Basically, quashing the subpoena mean if a subpoena is quashed, that means it's revoked. It's the judge or hearing officer resigns that subpoena. So it's no longer valid, and the person who the subpoena was served on, in this case Tish Taylor, doesn't need to do what the subpoena tells her to do anymore. So on September 4, Tish Taylor's lawyer filed a motion to quash on August 30. On September 4, the hearing officer ordered us to show cause why the subpoena served on Tish Taylor shouldn't be quashed by September 9. So she's siding with Tish Taylor and her lawyer, and she shows her inclination to quash the subpoena. And actually, she's kind of, not kind of, she's obviously gaslighting us, order to show cause, because in her order, she says the raw data that we ask Tish Taylor to produce aren't relevant to the due process proceeding. And so she's suggesting we are bothering her, harassing her, We want information that is not relevant to the proceeding, and we're just bothering her, basically. So we couldn't believe what was going on. So it wasn't us who was supposed to explain why we want the raw data. It's her, Tish Taylor, who was supposed to explain why she was fighting so hard to disclose the raw data. What are you hiding? Uh, we know why what she's hiding. We know why she fought so hard. Tish Taylor fought so hard because she was trying to cover up the irregularities in her evaluations. But that's going to be another video. Until then, keep in mind, just because they have the power doesn't mean they have the right.